Welcome to Grounding into Your Radiance, a space to dream, explore, and reconnect to your essential self with Stacey Barber. Stacey is a conscious mindset mentor and authentic lifestyle coach with a knack for guiding others to step into their truth and embrace times of transition with courage. Join Stacey in a space for intimate healing and growth, and get ready to face your fears so you can find deeper alignment in your life. Our stories are our light. Let them shine. Grounding into Your Radiance starts now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Grounding into Your Radiance. I am Stacey Barber. I will be your host today, and I am so excited to be here, continuing to talk about all the things that, are really coming up for everyone, and really staying in that space of being authentic and honest and real about how things are going in our lives and how we can continue to do the work, the inner work, and really bringing those things here with you. I believe in transparency and openness and really allowing ourselves to bring the mirror to our lives so that we can continue to do our inner work so that we can continue to be who we're meant to be here in this world. So this is really a beautiful space where I like to say where we can dream, where we can get real, and where we can reconnect back to our authentic self. What is that? Our authentic self, like coming back into who it is that we're meant to be here in our lives, right? What it is that's important to us. What is our deeper why? And as we do that, as we start to tune in more to ourselves, we can turn down the volume of the external world, all the ways that the world has taught us that what we should or shouldn't do, or the way that we should be. That stops being quite so important. And we really start to listen to our inner guide and voice, which is always rooting us on and leading us in the direction that is going to create the most happiness, joy, ease, and peace in our lives. So that is what we're doing here today. And I love this work. This is the work that I continue to do in my world and my life with my family and my friends. This is just such a authentic way that I live my life, is talking about the things that really need to be brought to light, talking about the ways in which we can reconnect back with who we are, starting to sort of push back all of the other things so we can get really clear about what it is that our life is pushing us forward to achieve. So today we are going to talk about really what some have called, and there was actually a movie around this that was really great, but around the secret of really how to get and achieve what it is that we want in life, more of everything while feeling good along the way. And this secret that we're talking about is really a divine law of the universe, one of many, but this one in particular is really looking at the law of attraction and how, as energetic human beings, we are always putting in our order to the universe at any given moment. So what that can look like is whatever our mind is creating, the universe sees it, hears it, feels it, and says, oh, okay, that's what you want. Great. So it's as if you're going through a fast food restaurant drive-through and you say, I want a cheeseburger with American cheese, with crispy lettuce, with ripened tomato, with this type of mayo, all the things, putting in the order of exactly what we want, staying open to that, continuing to see the vision of what it is that we want, being able to think about tasting the hamburger, being able to feel it in our hands, really creating a picture in our minds of what we want. And then the universe says, okay, check, you've got that. So it is no different than that. And what happens is that we become so unaware of what it is that our mind is creating a picture of. So often we are focused on what isn't going right in our lives, what we haven't been able to achieve, the goals that we haven't met, how that guy just cut me off in traffic. And that is what we're creating a picture of in our mind. So the universe says, oh, okay, so you want more of that. I'm going to give you more of that. When we can start to realize that we have such a power here to be able to create and really not even just create, like cultivate and mature and start to build this beautiful picture, that is exactly what we will end up getting. If you pull up the movie, right, it was premiered on Netflix. I rewatched it the other day, which was a really big inspiration for me to come back to this practice of mind. And if you go back, you've got some of the, most prestigious and wealthy humans on this program talking about how they weren't even sure if they believed this at first. It was almost like, this is too good to be true. How can something like this be so simple? Like, what I want, I just have to think about it and then it comes true. Like, wait a minute. But what is provided are some really beautifully concrete ways in which people have said, all right, I want to be able to make $100,000 this year. How can I focus on that? How can I focus on ways in which I can bring that in versus all the copies of my book that aren't being sold, how we're not meeting the mark? Where is it that we're putting our energy, our thought, right? Because what we know is where energy goes, everything else flows, right? And so when we put our energy towards something, that's where it's going to flow. So where are we wanting to call in? What are we wanting to flow into our lives more and more, right? This is actually the only way that we can start to really bring the power back in for our lives, is to be able to realize this truth, really thinking about the power of our human mind. It is such a magnificent part of the experience that we have here on earth. And it is also working behind the scenes at any given moment. So it's really, asking the question, what is it that I'm thinking about at any given moment? Because what the reality is what we think about will eventually turn into things, good or bad. This is sometimes a hard pill to swallow around thinking about some of the things that might have happened in our lives that didn't go the way that we wanted, or that were unfortunate or deeply sad things that happened in our lives. And if we can go back into the picture of our mind of what might have happened before that, a year before that, 5 years before that, 10 years before that, what are we creating in our vision of what our life is going to look like that has actually come into fruition? Really starting to get honest about that and be able to examine that without judgment, because we are all just humans and there is a predisposition of the human mind to focus on the negative. So this takes some work and realizing that is really key, realizing that it is something that we have to make an actual effort towards. And this is exactly where our mind and our body are striving for us to be. One of my mentors that I love listening to, Gabby Bernstein, she says over and over, it's all about feeling good. It's all about finding the things that lift your vibrational energy up so that you're feeling good. You're in that momentum. Your energetic levels are high so that you can then attract more of that. Being honest with ourselves about the things that don't feel good, cutting down on the obligations that we feel like we have to say yes to all the time. If it doesn't feel good, then maybe let's just not do more of that. There is a quote that I have had in my wallet for years, and this is going to be one that many of you have heard before, but I think it's important to note here. It's been in my wallet for so long, it's tattered and you can hardly read it anymore, but this quote alone was one of the first aha moments for me of stepping into this world of self-expression and growth and really doing the work. It is a quote by Gandhi, and it says, "Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts will become your words. Keep your words positive because they will become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits will become your values. And keep your values positive because your values will become your destiny." Noticing that it starts with the thought that then becomes the destiny. Noticing the end marks of this quote, this phrase about our lives and the way that it's carried out. Really, really important to be able to continue to, I love the way this feels, saying this, self-tend our mind like a garden, right? Where are the weeds that we need to pull them up? How can we start to begin to see that without, again, judgment or any sense of self-blame or shame? It is what it is. It's a thought. And as we can see that thought, allow it to then be able to be removed or replaced with something that's really beautiful and that helps us feel really good in our lives. That is the key. That is important. And just being able to start to say, does that thought make me feel good? Or does it leave me feeling kind of like not so great? Really beginning to acknowledge what's going on in our system. Thinking about taking time every day to become aware of how you feel and accepting every emotion that comes through, not resisting, but allowing yourself to feel it and let it go. Because what we know is what we resist persists, because what we're thinking about as we're resisting is what we don't want to happen. So the universe says, check, I've got your order. You want exactly this thing, even though it's the exact opposite. So really getting yourself into that space of what is it that I'm thinking about day in and day out? Where is my focus? Again, because where your focus goes, energy flows, right? Really starting to call in the things in life that make you feel good. Being able to, if you want to feel healthy and vibrant in your body, you want to get to a certain weight, think about how good you're going to feel in that body. Think about how confident you're going to be in that bathing suit walking out on the beach. If you're wanting to create healthier habits around drinking or smoking or healthy eating, think about how much energy you're going to have in your body by doing those things, right? These are amazing ways to begin to shift the entire landscape of our system. And it changes first by changing the thoughts that we are having in our mind, thinking about the picture that's being created and asking ourselves, is this a picture that I want to come into reality or is it not? And how can I start to tend the garden of my mind to be able to then shift that picture into something that I truly, truly desire, keeping that vision alive. We are going to come back and we're going to talk about so many other ways to be able to implement this into our lives, real concrete tools to be able to step into this new way of being. I can't wait to see you back in just a moment. I'm Stacey Barber. This is Grounding into Your Radiance, and we will be back in just a bit.
We remember a time when you could simply form a thought and it would manifest. The harmony was forgotten, but it is returning now. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin on TransformationTalkRadio.com each second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. We'll take you on adventures through the heart and spirit, exploring who we once were. This intuitive healer studied under the guidance of wolves, learning from their wisdom to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Visit OneTrueSelf.com.
Can't get enough of I Have Soul Radio? Join Psychic Medium Jamie every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. Take a deeper look at the raw side of spirit. Nothing is off limits. Connect with lost loved ones and explore these vulnerable subjects with the compassionate guidance of Psychic Medium Jamie. You are not alone. I Have Soul, Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, only on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Stuck in a roundabout of dysfunction? Learn how to speak your truth to power with host Dr. Kathy Obear. Create real change with smart tools and smart strategies. No frills, no fluff, just life-changing conversations to help get you where you want to be. Extend your reach and become an agent for real change with Kathy Obear. For more information on Kathy and her work, please visit drkathyobear.com. That's drkathyobear.com.
Transition, simultaneously the most difficult and vital part of the human experience. Without change, how would we grow? Tune in to Grounding into Your Radiance with Stacey Barber every second and fourth Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Step into your truth and allow the light into your life. For more information about Stacey and her services, visit StaceyBarber.com. That's Stacey, S-T-A-C-I-E, Barber.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Grounding into Your Radiance. Again, I'm your host, Stacey Barber. I am so honored to have you here with me, to be continuing to have these conversations of ways that we can start to dramatically change our lives, one moment at a time and one thought at a time. And that is really what we're focusing on today, is how the power of our mind can start to create the destiny in which we desire to live in our lives. Thinking about the pictures in which we create and think about on a daily, moment by moment basis, and how that starts to play out in our lives at any given time. Coming back to the knowing that everything in the world and anything that we can see, feel, touch, and things beyond that we can't see, feel, and touch, everything is energy. And energy at any realm of the process is vibrating at an energetic level. Now, if the vibration of energy is low, right? And when I think of that, I'm thinking of to help you feel that in your mind around the correlation of anger, shame, resentment, jealousy. Those are all really lower vibrational energies. And take yourself there for just a second, not to stay long, but think about a time when you were so deeply angry at someone, or you found out about a situation that made you really jealous. You immediately, I can feel it. I'm just saying the words in my body. I'm like, oh, it's almost like somebody can let the air out of my tire a bit. So thinking about that as a lower vibrational energy. Now allow in a vibration that's much higher, an emotion that comes into a higher energetic realm, bliss, awe, joy, amazement, right? I think for me, the moment they brought my daughter that I had just had over to lay on my chest, my wedding day, there's so many. Just sitting here in front of my window right now, being able to look outside of this beautiful blue sky and like the green trees around, that lifts my vibrational energy. So really thinking about, in any given moment, there is an energy that's vibrating at a certain frequency around you and within you. And what you are putting out, the energies or the universe is going to give you more of that. So if I'm vibrating at a high energy, I am in a state of joy, I am sending love out, I am expanding that in all areas of my environment, the universe is going to turn that right back around and bring it to me, right? And the vice versa goes as well. Whatever we're putting out, it's as if we're putting an order in for more of that. And to think about that there is a constant state of energy, of positive energy that is flowing throughout the universe in any given moment. In my mind, when I first started thinking about this, it was around what I had to create in my mind was a picture. And what I see is just a stream that's flowing at all times, never ending, of all of that high vibrational energy. And the universe wants us to be in that. That is our birthright, is to be in that vibrational energy of that conduit, of that stream. When we start to feel ourselves sort of detouring off or finding ourselves on the bank of the river, right? Thinking like, I don't really feel good right now. What's going on in my life? And right? That is when we have gotten out of the conduit, and thinking about how is it that I kind of loop myself back in, is to start to invoke these positive ways of thinking, of being, calling in these higher vibrational energies that will then shift us back into this stream. So really being honest with the question of, are you in that flow or are you out of that flow? And being able to say, how do I know? That would be a question that I'm sure it's like, I'm not sure if I'm in it. And the answer to that would be to say, how do you feel? That would be the question, not the answer. The question, how do you feel? Do you feel good? Yeah. Okay, great. Call in more of that. Bring more of those good feelings in. Do more things that make you feel good. Do you feel sort of out of place or out of touch or in a state of despair? What's going on there? If that is the answer, then how are there some ways that you can start to bring in these higher vibrational energetic states into your life? I like to think a lot of being out in nature really helps me get back into this space. Taking time in the morning for my morning routine, whatever that looks like, can include meditating. It can include like real mindful movement. It can include reading tarot cards or affirmations or out of A Course in Miracles. It can include listening to a really inspiring, uplifting podcast, doing the things that I know are going to lift the state of the way that I feel, right? And just remembering that we are all innately meant to live lives of freedom, joy, happiness, and peace. Like that is our birthright. And to know that the universe has more than enough for all of us. We're never going to run out of enough freedom, of enough time, of enough money. There is more than enough to go around. And so when we can come from that space of what is it that I really desire, and can I keep my vision and my eyes set on that, knowing that this is truly something that I have been granted just by being alive, then you start to realize the power behind the mind. What is it that you're thinking about at any given time? And is what is going on in your life, is it working out for you, or are things not working out? Where can you start to begin to shift that? Thinking about the energy of the mind's thoughts that makes that energy flow into what it is that's coming back into our lives from the universe. For me, the first step really around this to start to shift this in my life is bringing in real mindful awareness. That's where that really comes into play. I say this often, but awareness is really the key to any type of transition, change, transformation of life. We have to first become aware of where we're at. If you're looking at a map and you're trying to get to a certain destination, you're trying to get to the beach, you have to first put in where you are. You have to put in, where am I at now, in order to figure out the way in which you can get to the beach from where you're at, from point A to point B. Awareness is really figuring out your point A. And that is, again, meant to only serve as a landmark, not to create any sense of judgment or any ill intent. It is only to say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. And as we can become aware of where we're at, then we can pause, or we can start to mindfully make positive changes in our lives. I love this concept or quote around mindfulness. And it's really the willingness and determination of being present amidst your life as it is occurring, versus resorting to fear-based protective strategies. Really being aware of what is going on in our lives in any given moment amidst it all happening, bringing in that spacious awareness so that we can say, okay, this is where I'm at right now. To give you guys an example of this, thinking about how we can bring this in, this mindful awareness, which can also be really considered a pause, giving yourself just that extra little moment to be able to start to clearly understand how it is that you want to respond to a situation. Consider that you're in a really heated argument with your spouse or your partner. You can either choose to go down the rabbit hole of all the things that they've ever done wrong, how they haven't met your expectations, how they've let you down, how, on and on and on. Think about just being in that energy and what that makes you feel like. That typically does not make you feel very good. Now, consider instead that whatever this argument is about, instead, you could really choose to see them simply as human beings, as we all are, and choose to focus on the parts that your spouse that you're grateful for. Is it that they provide stability? Is it that they are an amazing parent to your fur babies or your real babies? Is it they bring adventure and zest into your life? Is it that they are amazing at what they do? Whatever it is, starting to shift the perspective, shift the lens from thinking about and focusing on all the things that are going wrong in life, and then coming back and bringing in awareness, the picture in which you want more of. So if it's all of those things, if it's thinking about your spouse being a really amazing parent, see the picture in your mind of them playing on the ground with the dog or the babies, right? If it is that they are so amazing at what they do for work, calling in pictures of that, really starting to be able to shift that perspective, because whatever it is that you choose to place your focus on, then you'll begin to see much more satisfaction and joy in life. If we're thinking about the positive aspects of that, right? Going back to the Gandhi quote, it all starts with the thoughts. And you can really apply this to any process in life, and it will immediately shift the inner landscape and energetic vibration that you're feeling. Remembering, again, I think this is the most important part around this, because we tend to, again, our minds have that somewhat negative predisposition when we start to examine our thoughts. Remember that we are all human. Remember that this is, if we get to a space of judging what is happening, then we are shifting our energetic vibration to the judgment. So really coming in with an open and clear ability to just simply see with spaciousness where you are. Just find your point A, and then begin to notice at any given moment what exactly it is that you're paying attention to, and then decide for yourself, what is it that I want to create more of in my life? What is it that you want to create more of in your life? What are the things that really get you going, that you're just so excited about, right? That you can feel the tingles about thinking. Get your mind there, stay there, start to really allow that in. Hold that thought, because we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about more ways in which we can start to manifest this into reality. This is Grounding into Your Radiance. We'll be back in just a moment.
Let's face it, you don't love your wrinkles. You probably work out, but you have been skipping face day. Join Colette Marie Steffen for daily face yoga. You'll learn to activate and train facial muscles and reverse the visible effects of aging. Forget about expensive procedures and products that don't work. Live virtual classes every day at 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific. Sign up for face yoga with Colette. Visit thetruthisfunny.com.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the new year. During this time of need, I've been called to offer my life coaching services for free. That's right, free, no strings attached. Ram Dass said it best, we're all walking each other home. I'd like to support your walk with my coaching skills. To start the process, hit me up at miles2gocoaching.com, and under Book Online, select Is Coaching Right for Me? After that, we'll schedule time to meet and map out whatever you want to work on. I look forward to hearing from you, and remember, you can catch me on Transformation Talk Radio the second and fourth Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. See you soon.
Welcome back to Grounding into Your Radiance. Welcome, everyone. I'm Stacey Barber. We are going to continue the conversation around some of the most amazing secrets in life, around the divine laws that are in place for each and every one of us. We're really talking about the divine law of attraction today, and how we have so much power in the tending of our thoughts, how our thoughts become our destiny, and how we can continue to really cultivate a life and a world that we want to be part of, that we really get excited about, that is bringing back to us all that we're putting out. And I think about a really important component of this is, we were just speaking about the mindful awareness, figuring out where we're at, point A. And then once we're there, really giving ourselves space to begin to move forward and asking ourselves, how is it that we want to either respond or react from this point moving forward in our lives? This is really, for me, the second step of starting to shift the inner landscape. There's a quote that I love around this. It says, once you change your relationship to your symptom or your emotion or your state, your symptom will change its relationship to you. So thinking about if I'm holding on to this anger, and this anger is part of something that helps me feel like I'm in control and I'm so attached to the anger, then the anger is actually attached to me. And if I can start to see a human emotion as maybe I'm just feeling angry right now, but I know that I don't have to feel angry forever. How can I start to move from this space of letting the anger be there as it's there? And then as I have moments to be mindfully aware of my thoughts, how can I start to cultivate thoughts that bring joy? And as you do that, then your relationship to that anger starts to change. Really bringing that mindful awareness in so that it can allow you to respond rather than react to life so much more patiently and compassionately. And I think about this not only with ourselves, but then to others and other events in our lives. The reality is we spend a great deal of time and energy reacting. And when I think of reacting, I'm thinking I'm reacting outward, right, to whatever's coming in. We spend a great deal of energy and time reacting to the fact that our life doesn't seem to be cooperating or working with us. All of the things that aren't going the way that we expect or want them to. People aren't the way that we want them to be. Situations don't go how we want them to go. We don't feel like we have the right body, hair, nails, et cetera, right? They're just not right. Things, the commute's too long, the mother or father-in-law is too difficult. These are all ways in which we're focusing on and reacting to the ways in which we feel like life is not cooperating with us. And as we begin to notice this tendency of the mind, it gives us an opportunity to really check in on how we're feeling in those moments and then choose to be able to respond from that point on. So when we check in on those feelings, I guarantee you're not typically feeling very optimistic or upbeat when you're focusing on all the things that are going wrong in life. This is literally giving your power away to everything and everyone out there. You are literally saying, there's a playground here for each of you to be able to walk up on and play on. And here's my energy. You can all have it. Right? It's being in that state of reaction is literally taking away that inner knowing, that seat of awareness that we have within us, because we're just simply in a space of reactivity. So the beautiful part about shifting from a space of reactivity to response is that we're allowing ourselves to come back in first, to take that little pause, to deepen the connection to our heart and to our intuition and say, what is it that I choose to do from this point forward? How can I respond to what's happening out there? How can we, again, turn down the volume of the outer environment so that we can begin to tune back into ourselves? So how often do you find yourself in either a react or a response mode? One of my really dear friends that I call sister, that I went through my life coach program with, we were having this conversation, and I love the correlation that she made around this. And shout out to you, Jenny, if you're listening. She's like, it's kind of like eating junk food. You see the bag of Doritos and you immediately are like, ooh, I want that. The bag of Doritos gave you a picture in your mind of how you think that's going to taste and make you feel. And so you grab it without even really connecting in with yourself of like, do I really want this or not? So you're reacting to the environment. And yes, it might feel good for a moment. It might, the cheese on your fingers and the taste, right? It might feel good for a moment. But then not long after that, most of the time we tend to go into a bit of a spiral or a rabbit hole of allowing in the thoughts of disappointment in ourselves, shame around that choice that we made around unhealthy eating again, regret that we reacted to the environment, and so on. So what this mindful awareness provides for us and this responsiveness is really giving yourself that spaciousness. I like to say to sort of zoom out to really check in and then choose the best choice for ourselves, being responsive. That's truly what it means. I also think so often around this, I think this is a classic example of driving in 5 o'clock traffic, right? That the people are swerving in and out of the lanes, that, you're honking of the horns. I especially think of this in like the cities. I remember being in New York City and there were a lot of horns being blown and that immediately your energy gets rattled, right? I think about times when you're running late and you're focusing on all the things that could go wrong in that day, or thinking about how there's so much that you want to get done, but there's never enough time. Just beginning to entertain or invite in, well, what could I be doing instead? Instead of allowing cars and these pieces of metal and people and these automobiles that are driving beside and around us, rather than focusing on that, could I take that time to listen to a podcast or a book on my drive home, or play music that brings back amazing memories? It just really gets you like going in that feel good state. Could you remind yourself that you're human and that one bad decision does not determine like your days, your weeks, your months, your year, your life, right? That to begin to really be honest with ourselves around that there are things in our lives, maybe either it be late or bills that weren't paid, or big life things, losing a spouse in divorce, or whatever it is, thinking, really being gentle with ourselves, and that this is part of my story, but it does not determine the rest of it. And if I focus my energy there, I'm going to get more of that. How can I continue to focus on what's going right? Another great way to do that is creating a gratitude practice. Maybe that's journaling, writing it down every day, or waking up in the morning and going through, what are the 5 things I'm grateful for today? Before you lay down at night, what are the 5 things that I'm grateful for before I lay my head down? Looking at the things that are going amazing and that are going right and that you've already accomplished, really continuing to put your focus there. I remember I was listening to it was on Insight Timer, and I've shared this here before, but it's worth repeating. There was the heading that said "The Secret to a Blissful Life." And I said, what is this gentleman going to say that's different from anything I've heard before? And in the speech that he was giving that had been recorded, there was a gentleman in the audience that said, "What is the secret to living a blissful life?" And he answered, and his answer said, is to always be aware of our mortality, of our humanity, that we are all humans in this earth, and that this ride that we call life is not one that will go on forever. And to remember that we have this special gift in front of us each day. To each day when you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes and you see the ceiling above you, say thank you. Right? When your children are running around and maybe it's a little loud or distracting, being like, thank you for allowing them to have joy in their life, to be happy to be alive. Really thinking about how can we start to shift our perspective on all the things that are going really well in our lives versus the things that tend to be missing the mark. Getting yourself in that high vibe energy and staying there, calling in more, really be very consciously aware of the thoughts that are being cultivated in your mind so that you're not getting caught. This is the way that I've heard it said before, and I love it. So don't be caught reacting all over the place, right? Don't be caught simply being in a reaction mode to the things and people and circumstances around you. A powerful experience that comes back to mind for me is during one of my internships of my occupational therapy program. I was working in a mental hospital in Beaufort, South Carolina. It's a beautiful space. They have amazing garden that's connected to the mental space. It was just a really, really beautiful wing of the hospital that they've done such a phenomenal job with. And throughout this process, we were really working on shifting the habits that the residents in the hospital were there for, really thinking about how it is that you can start to shift your daily life one little choice at a time. And I remember my mentor, her name was Chris. She was just the most incredible woman, great energy that was just vibrating out from her. She was helping them think, what are these little things that we can do? And I remember her starting to share with someone, the things that she starts to do for herself. It's little things, like instead of when I get home every day thinking that I want to get out in nature and take a walk and have to go through the process, she would literally leave her clothes at the doorstep and she would change in her garage. So she didn't even go into her house, so that it made sure every day that she was doing something healthy for herself. She would immediately make up her bed in the morning. And that meant that the night was over, the day had come, and we're going to go out and we're going to live our lives. And those little things about choosing to honestly respond in a way that we are taking the power back of our lives and our day-to-day moments versus reacting to anything else that's going on around us, right? Being able to really set ourselves up for success, realizing in those moments how powerful that is to be able to continue to cultivate and nurture the inner landscape and garden of our minds. So fascinating stuff that starts to make such a huge impact on our lives immediately. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dive in a bit more around the law of attraction and how it can start to truly bring more of everything you want into your life while feeling good at the same time. So I'm your host, Stacey Barber. I'll see you back in just a moment. This is Grounding into Your Radiance.
Get empowered. Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, I'm Laura Goldstein, and here's a Coffee with the Universe tip. It's no secret that anxiety and overwhelm are on the rise. While the tendency is to suppress these feelings, anxiety is really a messenger that's telling you something is off, very off. You might be shooting yourself and living a life based on someone else's expectations. Maybe you have trouble saying no, or maybe you're following the fearful voice in your head that demands you do more, be more in order to feel worthy. So see where you can make a few adjustments in what you're doing to get rid of the overwhelm and create more peace inside instead. To get more tips like this, tune into my Transformation Talk radio show called Coffee with the Universe. It's a live call-in show. I'd love to chat with you.
Tune into 3 Things I've Learned with Susan Dolce every first and third Tuesday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. Join Susan and her guests as they share the stories that shift our souls about radical transformations, courageous breakthroughs, and life lessons. 3 Things I've Learned with Susan Dolce. For more information, go to transformationtalkradio.com or visit Susan's website at susandolce.com.
Welcome back to Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm your host, Stacey Barber. Thanks for coming back. I love having these conversations here with you, really talking about ways that we can continue to lift and rise up in our lives, how we can start to get really honest and clear about what's not working, and start to shift into a way that we can bring more joy, ease, and peace into our lives. I would love to hear from you. Ways that you can get in connection with me is my email is stacy.barber@gmail.com and my website is staceybarber.com. And that's Stacey with an IE. Got some great opportunities to continue this conversation and this work together. And I would just love to hear from you and let me know just how things are resonating. I just feel so empowered to be in that relationship. So today we're really talking about the law of attraction. It's such a beautiful sort of secret in life, and how this divine law, when we really allow ourselves to embody the truth of it can change our lives in such amazing ways immediately. I was inspired by watching, this movie's been around for 21 years now, which is kind of crazy, but created in 2020 around The Secret. This is the name of it. And it's having some of the most profound individuals in this world, right? Quantum physics and authors and teachers coming in and sharing how this really has made such a huge shift in their lives that they never even knew possible until they started to apply this concept. And so beginning to really think about how the thoughts and the things that we're thinking of each and every day continue to create the reality in which we live. There's this great quote by John Roger, and it says, all of your problems have been because you have moved from your center into something that your mind has conjured up. And I love that. And then, excuse me, the next quote that comes right along behind that for me, that's so great, is from the great philosopher Tao Zhu. And it says, as soon as you have made a thought, laugh at it, right? Because we're constantly making thoughts. We're not sure, the reality of that we're creating in our mind is it one of a virtual reality. It is not the life in which we are concretely living in this world. And so to begin to get really honest about what it is that we are focusing on at any given moment throughout the day. What I think about so significantly with this, coming back to the energy of feeling and the state that our body is in at any moment, is really thinking about the way that our body is instructed and controlled really by our nervous system. There are essentially two dials on the nervous system. We have a dial for the sympathetic nervous system, the stimulation, reaction. This was really utilized so much when, years and years ago, when we were, out harvesting crops for our family and there was a bear that was coming at you and your body had to say, okay, now it's time to run, go, right? That is when reaction works, is when you are in danger, move away from the danger immediately. Now, this is a really heightened state that is not a healthy state to live in at all the time. It is available, but it is not where we are meant to live our lives, the majority of our lives. When I think about what we're really called to be in our body and in our mind, I think of the opposite dial, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. That is our relaxation, our response, our ability to be able to be at ease, right? The beautiful part about the two dials is that we have the control to be able to turn one up and the other one down, or vice versa. So what does that really mean, right? How can we start to shift the gears or the volume at any given moment? The beautiful part is that when we feel our bodies and our minds going into this sympathetic, revved up state, again, go back to the example of being in traffic or being late, right? You're starting to feel the energy lifting and going outward. Bringing in the mindful awareness, choosing to respond versus react, and then make a different choice. What could that look like? For me, it's immediately connected to the breath, because typically when you're in a sympathetic state or a reactive state, you're not breathing. And if you are, it's pretty darn shallow. So check in with that. How can just taking 3 slow, deep breaths start to change the entire way in which your system is functioning? Maybe it means turning the music off. Maybe it means rolling the windows down. Whatever works for you. What is a way that you can make a choice to get into a different state? Because that is the power of the mind, being able to change how the body feels. Choosing your thoughts, self-correcting, focusing on the things that are going good and right in our lives. Doing so without judgment, really reducing. I love this idea. It's really from Alcoholics Anonymous, of reducing the tendency of stinking thinking, right? Thinking the thoughts that really end up feeling pretty stinky in our minds. Reduce that tendency. When I think about the body, again, it's doing the things that feel good, putting ourselves back into a higher vibrational energy. Maybe that's through dance. Maybe that's through listening to really amazing music, playing with our kids, laughing out loud, going to lunch with a really good friend, really starting to call more and more of that in. There is a technique that I've learned through some of my mindfulness training and research. And I think it's really important to bring here, looking at breath as the anchor back into our body, right? Allowing breath to be the anchor to the present moment. This technique that I'm talking about, it's called center point breath. And essentially what we're talking about here is really being able to provide that pause, that responsive moment in our breath so that we can immediately affect our nervous system. The creator of this technique, I love this story. He was observing his baby sleeping in her crib, and he noticed as she was breathing, her exhale would sort of linger at the bottom of the exhale for a moment. Essentially, it was creating a pause post exhale, which for me, the way I start to think about this is it's really applying that ability to be in a spaciousness of trust and surrender, that I don't have to make my inhale happen. My body just naturally brings that in. And that's allowing me to be in a space of responsiveness in any moment of my life. So thinking about that, let's just apply that while we're here together. And I'm just going to guide you through 3 breaths with this technique. And I want you to just start to feel how your body is starting to respond to that already. So just let yourself get into a comfortable seat wherever you're at. And that's the beauty of this, is you can really apply it anywhere, when you're in the car, or sitting in the grocery line, whatever it is. I just want you to allow yourself to take a nice deep breath in. And then I want you to let all the air out. And when you get to that moment where it's almost gone, I want you to just pause, being in between, not breathing in or out. And then naturally feel how your body inhales. Exhale all the air out. Get to the bottom of the breath. Hold there in that spaciousness, in that pause. Allow your inhale to open. Exhale all the air out. And pause. Feel how everything feels more calm. Your body more relaxed. I start to feel my periphery opening. I'm taking in more of my environment. I feel less constrictive in my chest and in my brow. From that simple of a technique that you can apply in any given moment, let the breath be the anchor, asking yourself really, where is my pause? And as you continue to tend the garden of your body and mind, you're going to create this beautiful self-created landscape where your dreams and your desires can be planted, grown, and harvested for you to really enjoy. And that is the beauty of the law of attraction. It dictates whatever can be imagined in the mind's eye, that it can be achievable and that you can take action on a plan and get where you want to be. Anything is possible. Be happy, because knowing this truly sets into stone that the universe is on your side. And the more time you dedicate to learning how to implement and utilize the law of attraction into your life, the more rewarding and fulfilling your life is truly going to be. And really, truly remember that there are no restrictions at all. There is more than enough. Open your mind and enjoy the natural abundance that is readily available to you from the universe at any moment. I pray that this is something that will start to shift your life in such a beautiful way. I know it has mine. Thank you again for spending your precious time here with me. I do not take that lightly, and I am honored to be able to share this space with you. Until next time, this is Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm Stacey Barber, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Grounding into Your Radiance, where you become empowered to face change and transition from a place of clarity. Learn to shed your layers and declutter the space between your story and your truth. Do you feel a little lighter now? Tune in next time for more opportunities to explore, dream, and reconnect with your essential self with Stacy Barber. For more information about Stacy and her services, visit stacybarber.com. That's Stacy, STACIE Barber.com.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.